He was born Ahmed Salman Rushdie on June 19, 1947, in Bombay, British India, just 2 months before the partition that split India and Pakistan. His family was Muslim, but not devout. His father, Anis Ahmed Rushdie, was a Cambridge-educated lawyer turned businessman. His mother, Nagan Bhatt, was a teacher. Their home was filled with books, debate, and curiosity, not dogma. As a boy, Salman was sent to rugby school in England, one of the country's oldest boarding schools. Later, he studied history at Cambridge University, where he immersed himself in literature, philosophy, and the clash of civilizations. He was fascinated by migration, identity, and the way cultures collide, themes that would define his writing. In the 1970s, Rushdie worked as an advertising copywriter in London, but at night he wrote fiction. His first novel, Grimus, 1975, went largely unnoticed, but his second novel changed everything. In 1981, he published Midnight's Children, a sweeping, magical realist tale about India's birth as a nation, told through the eyes of a boy born at the exact moment of independence. The book was a sensation. It won the Booker Prize, and later the Booker of Bookers, as the best novel in the prize's history. Overnight, Rushdie became one of the most celebrated writers in the world. He followed it with Shame, 1983, a biting allegory about Pakistan's politics. Again, he mixed history with satire, myth with reality. He was bold, he was fearless, and he was becoming a literary superstar. Then came 1988. Rushdie published The Satanic Verses, a novel that blended magical realism with a story of migration, identity, and faith. But within its pages, he included dream sequences inspired by Islamic history. One character, resembling the Prophet Muhammad, was portrayed in a way many Muslims found deeply offensive. The reaction was immediate. The book was banned in India within weeks. Protests erupted in Pakistan and the UK. Copies were burned in the streets. For many Muslims, the novel was seen as blasphemy, an insult to their prophet and their faith. On February 14, 1989, the controversy reached its peak. Ayatollah Ruhollah Khomeini, the supreme leader of Iran, issued a fatwa, a religious decree, calling on Muslims worldwide to kill Salman Rushdie and anyone involved in publishing the book. The fatwa was unprecedented. It wasn't just a religious opinion, it was a death sentence, broadcast to millions. Bookstores were bombed. Translators and publishers were attacked. In Japan, Rushdie's translator Hitoshi Igarashi was murdered. In Norway, publisher William Nygaard was shot 3 times but survived. Rushdie himself went into hiding under British police protection. For nearly a decade, he lived under the alias Joseph Anton, a name he later used for his memoir. He moved from safe house to safe house, always under guard, always looking over his shoulder. But Rushdie was more than the fatwa. He was a novelist who blended magic realism with post-colonial history. He was a thinker who explored migration, exile, and the clash between East and West. He was a man who believed that words should be free, even when they offend. Over the years, he continued to write The Moor's Last Sigh, 1995, The Ground Beneath Her Feet, 1999, Shalimar the Clown, 2005, Joseph Anton, 2012, his memoir of life under the fatwa. He was knighted in 2007 for his services to literature. He became a U.S. citizen in 2016, and despite the threats, he kept speaking, teaching, and writing. But the fatwa never truly disappeared. Khomeini died in 1989, but his decree lived on. Iranian institutions continued to fund bounties on Rushdie's head. For decades, he lived with the knowledge that somewhere, someone might try to finish what the fatwa began. And in 2022, on a quiet stage in New York, that shadow finally caught up with him. The stage was modest: a podium, 2 chairs, a banner with the Institute's crest. Morning light spilled through tall windows. The audience, teachers, readers, students, retirees, leaned forward, quiet, expectant. Rushdie stepped out to warm applause. He smiled, adjusting his glasses. The room calmed, waiting for words. Then the aisle. A man rose, hoodie up, steps too sharp, too fast, one hand low, clutching something unseen. People turned their heads without knowing why. He broke into a run, gasps. The moderator's head snapped around. Rushdie shifted, half rising, half bracing. The lunge. Steel flashed. An arm drove forward with brutal precision. The first strike landed, then another, then another. Rushdie raised his hands, angled his body, fighting to block, to absorb. Screams ripped the room. Chairs scraped, programs scattered. Some ducked, some froze. The moderator lunged, grabbing at the attacker's arm. For a heartbeat, the motion faltered, then surged again. The knife cut down, driving Rushdie back toward the chair, toward the floor. Rushdie stayed on his feet. Barely. Security hit the stage. One guard low at the hips, another high at the shoulders, a third from the side, locking the wrist. The knife skittered across the floor, lost under a chair. The mob around the stage became a wall. Volunteers, audience members, anyone close enough to reach. Hands grabbed, pulled, shielded. Shouts cut the air. "Hands! Drop it! Stay down!" Rushdie dropped to one knee. A hand reached for him. A voice steadied him. "Stay with us. Keep looking at me." He gripped fabric, a sleeve, an anchor, proof he wasn't alone. The attacker went still, pinned, wrist locked, shoulder pressed flat to the floor. Guards froze in position, welded by training and adrenaline. Then the medics, fast, precise. Gauze pressed. Questions fired, name, pain, awareness, each answer a victory. A monitor beeped steady. The audience, hushed now, watched not a lecture but a battle for breath, for time. The stretcher came. A path opened. Volunteers, strangers, security. A corridor of urgency. Rushdie was lifted, carried past faces pale with disbelief. Someone whispered, barely audible, "He's still here." The words rippled through the rows like a prayer. The doors closed behind him. On stage, the banner still hung. The podium still waited. The microphone stood silent, holding a space where words had been, and where violence had tried and failed to erase them. The knife was gone. The attacker pinned, the hall still trembling with echoes of screams. But Salman Rushdie, broken, bleeding, half-blinded, was still alive. He was airlifted from the stage to a trauma center. Surgeons worked for hours. One eye gone, nerves severed, scars carved deep into his body. And yet he survived. The man who had lived under a death sentence for 33 years had faced it, finally, in daylight, and walked back from the edge. The attack sent shockwaves across the globe. Writers called it an assault on literature itself. Politicians called it an attack on freedom of speech. Millions were reminded that words can still provoke blades. From New York to New Delhi, from London to Tehran, the debate reignited. Should words ever be punished? Can books be dangerous? Or is the danger in those who fear them? Rushdie himself, scarred but unbroken, returned to the page. In interviews, he spoke not of fear, but of resilience. He reminded the world that stories outlive violence, that imagination cannot be silenced by knives. His survival became more than personal. It became symbolic, a reminder that even when ideas bleed, they do not die. So if you've traveled with us, from the ruins of empires long gone to the crowded streets where faith and philosophy clashed, and into the modern world where words still draw blood, you've seen the same truth echo across ages, that power always trembles before free minds, that ideas outlive kings and conquerors, and that sometimes the sharpest weapon humanity has ever carried is a story. This was The Red Pages of History, where every episode uncovers the moment a blade, a bullet, or a belief changed the fate of nations. Until next time, keep questioning.